Cotterless Detent Pin. A Cotterless Detent Pin is a quick-release pin used in rapid-release applications. Each pin comes equipped with a locking detent ball that holds the pin in place by spring force and a flat head. These pins are used in cases where taking the pin in and out does not happen very often, as you may need a tool to get in between the application and the pin head to release it. The pin head is a bit difficult to grab a hold of with your bare fingers. Moving on to the guide. Cotterless detent pins are composed of a 15-digit smart part code. All important attributes of the pin are broken up into categories and listed out on the part code guide. Follow the color-coded guide to translate the description into an innovative component's part number. Located at the bottom of each guide is the layout of the smart part code. Use this to guide you when creating a part code. To start, take notice that the product listed in the red section is a Cotterless detent pin. All Cotterless detent pin part numbers will be a 2-digit designator, taking up the very first 2 spaces. All Cotterless detent pins will start with CD. Next, we move on to the orange section labeled pin diameter. All but one pin diameter will be listed within 2 digits in spaces number 3 and number 4 of the part code. Each fractional diameter translates to a 2-digit designator. Exception: the 3/16 diameter will be listed out using 3 digits in spaces number 3, 4, and 5. In cases of a 3/16 pin, we simply move the rest of the part code over by 1 digit. When we get to the specials in purple, we reduce the special space allotment by 1 to recalibrate and keep the 15-digit part code. Example: 3/16 diameter equals 3/16 in a part code format, whereas a 1/4 inch diameter becomes a 4x within the part code. Next, we move on to the green section called effective, usable, or grip length. There are 4 places allocated to this attribute located in spaces number 5, 6, 7, and 8 of the part code. The first digit is a whole number in space number 5. Imagine as if there is a period after the first whole number. Spaces number 6, 7, and 8 are saved for any decimal places. If a pin is 4 inches in grip length, you would see 4000 here. If a pin is 2.5 inches in grip length, you would see 2500 here. Next, we move on to the blue section, which is called placeholders, where we always enter an automatic dash here. There is 1 space allocated to this attribute in space number 9 of the part code. Next, we move on to the purple section called specials. We reserve 4 spaces, number 10, 11, 12, and 13 for this attribute for all diameters except 3/16. 3/16 diameter pins will only have 3 spaces available for specials in spaces 11, 12, and 13. Typically, an X will be entered into any space articulating that there is something special or custom about this particular part. An X tells the team to refer to the description or blueprint of the part to identify what exactly makes this part special. In cases where there is something to note, we enter an X in any one space and dashes in the rest. In cases where there is nothing special to note, we enter a dash in each space. Next, we move on to the future attribute called pin material. This section is in regards to what type or grade of material the pin is made out of. We allocate 1 space in space holder number 14 for the material of the pin. Common materials are listed out. The standard steel or grade 2 steel becomes a 2 in a part code, whereas grade 5 steel becomes a 5 in a part code. Lastly, we move on to the gray attribute called plating. Plating is a coating of metal used to serve as a rust inhibitor. We reserve 1 space in space holder number 15 for the plating of the pin. Common platings are listed out. We do not ever plate stainless steel, so in cases of a stainless steel pin, we would use a 0 for plating. Now that we know how to use the part code guide, let's move on to the practice quiz and put it to use. Cotterless Detent Quiz. Number 1. 5/16 by 6 inch Cotterless Detent Pin in stainless steel with a zinc and yellow plating. To start out, we looked at the part code guide and noticed the product will start with a CD. Next, we move on to pin diameter in orange. The pin diameter is a 5/16. Looking at the part code guide, we notice 5/16 translates to a 5x. Enter 5x in the orange section in numbers 3 and 4. Next, we move on to the effective, usable, or grip length. In the case of number 1, we have a 6-inch pin. We would enter a 6 000. Next we move on to placeholders in the blue. We put an automatic dash here. Then we move on to purple, where we have specials. If there is nothing to note, we enter 4 dashes here. In the case of number 1, there is nothing special to note. So we add dash, 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 dash. Next we move on to pin material in fuchsia. The pin material is steel. Steel is also known as our grade 2 low carbon steel. It is our standard steel. We would place a 2 in the fuchsia or number 14 spot. Moving on to plating in gray, we have zinc and yellow plating. Zinc and yellow translates to a 2 in the part code guide. So number 1 would read as CD5X 6000 dash 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 22. Number 2, we have a 1/4 by 2.5 Cotterless clevis pin in Rojas compliant steel. Looking in the part code guide, we're going to start it off with a CD. Next, we move on to the orange section, and we take notice that the diameter in the description is a 1/4 inch. A 1/4 inch translates to a 4X. Next, we move on to the green section for effective length. Number 2's effective length is 2.5 inches. We have to translate 2.5 in a fractional format to 2.5 in a decimal format. So we would enter a 2500 in the part code. Next, we move on to placeholder. We use an automatic dash here. Then we move on to the specials in purple. There is nothing special to note about number 2. So we would enter a dash 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 dash. Moving on to pin material in fuchsia, we take notice that this pin material is Rojas compliant steel. So our regular steel is known as our grade 2 steel, which would be a number 2. Next we move on to the plating. The plating is the Rojas. Rojas is a lead-free material that is environmentally friendly. We would enter an R in the plating for Rojas compliant steel. Number 2's part code would read CD4X 2500 dash 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 2R. Please complete the rest of the quiz using the part code guide.